last week we got the official news of a boxing match involving WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury versus former UFC heavyweight champion and current PFL heavyweight Francis Ngannou. The date, October 28th. The location, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The deets, all right, so this fight takes place in a regulation boxing ring under boxing rules with 3 ringside judges using the 10-point must system. Also, we know that it's 10 rounds. It's not an exhibition. It's a proper professional boxing match. However, it will not be for a title. React. The first take of the week belongs to Goes.
Well, we didn't really grow up with these options where we have the baddest man on the planet in mixed martial arts versus the baddest man on the planet in boxing. They're matching up. I mean, the closest thing I can think of anything like this was Muhammad Ali, right, in Japan. But we got it now. And I don't say this too often, but I feel like Francis Ngannou won here. Regardless of the outcome of this boxing matchup, Ngannou has already won. What did he win? He won his freedom. He won his ability to advocate for other fighters. His contract is going to pay him more. And don't forget this, guys. If he would have stuck around with the UFC and he would have lost, that contract would have gone down. And the UFC would have made his life hell. So this dude walked out of the UFC at the right time, said a lot of things he was going to do, and he backed it all up. And a lot of people were very negative towards what he was trying to do. Some stuck around, but he was able to pull it off, man. And I think this is something that's really, really important for fighters all around. This could be the spark, right? We see, even George, you brought up in the intro, Jake Paul and Nate Diaz. Like, look at Nate Diaz. He kind of walked away from the UFC and potentially has a big payday too. We've already seen Francis doing some work at PFL, able to kind of secure big contracts for people that are going to fight him. So this is a big game changer, and I think it's a real important time in our sport. I'm happy for Francis Ngannou, and this is an uphill battle. Let's not get it twisted, right? This is one of the best boxers that ever lived in Tyson Fury. They are heavyweights. You do have one-punch knockout power, but I've seen Tyson Fury get hit with some shots that would knock out a cow, man, and he just gets right back up. So it's going to be interesting, but I know come fight night, if I dish out my money for this, I'm going to have them tingles. I'm going to have them goosebumps. I'm going to be down for this. So all around, I'm pretty happy to see this happen.
Excellent start, Goes. I love the Muhammad Ali and Antonio Inoki comparison. However, don't forget, one time Rocky Balboa and Thunderlips mixed it up. True. So we have kind of seen this a little bit before. How about you, Mike Bond? React to this. This was huge last week.
Yeah, I'm super happy for Francis as well. I think that's going to be the theme, of course, with Eric here as well. Who shouldn't be, right? Like, this is what he said he was going to do. This was probably like the #1 goal on the checklist, and he made it happen despite all the doubts and all the criticism and all the things people threw his way. He stayed the course, always maintained confidence that things would come out for him on the right end. And here we are, right? Like, the actual analysis and breakdown of like how the fight's going to go, the technical side of it, that's obviously a little bit of a different case and a different discussion. But the fact this fight came together like it did is very significant, not only from, Francis's side, but just combat sports as a whole, right? Like, we may never get an opportunity to see something like this where the lineal UFC heavyweight champion is able to take on the boxing heavyweight champion. With the way UFC contracts are set up, the way people get locked into championship clauses, all these different things, it's going to be really tough for someone to position themselves like Francis again, and maybe even get to the point where the UFC, lets them get into a situation like that. So the fact he was here, that he pursued what he wanted and got what he wanted, is very meaningful. And just the visual of having those two in the ring together is going to be something very special and exciting to see. And I hope everyone who is maybe critical of it or, says this isn't the right fight for Tyson Fury, he's ducking the real challenges in boxing, et cetera, just appreciate this for a moment, because you'll probably never see anything like it again.
All right. And Eric, of course, you're very close to this first topic of ours. I'd like you to react to not only the announcement that we heard this past week, but what was it like behind the scenes of what you can share to us as this thing kind of was hot and cold and, or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. You share with us, please.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this was a fight that I knew that we had signed a month back before the announcement. So it was such good news for the entire team, but it was so hard to keep it under wraps, so we didn't tell anybody at all. But then it was probably about a month ahead of that. There was a lot of traction, and I felt like there was a little bit more to be said about it when you started hearing Dana speaking about getting Tyson Fury and John Jones a fight. So I was like, oh, there might be some, if there's smoke, there's fire. So like hearing everything, the way it kind of developed, was behind the scenes, and Markel and Francis were able to get this job done. Again, man, super excited. I echo everything that Mike and Go said. The excitement amongst the team of just, listen, man, this is a one hurdle to another hurdle to another hurdle, but it was one big hurdle that we had to jump, and we were able to achieve that. So, looking forward to the opportunity to be able to be a part of this camp and, put our best foot forward.
Eric, we got more questions about this for you, but just a quick one that everyone needs to know. I know you're his head coach in MMA, but you're part of the team for this boxing match as well. Can you share that, please?
Yeah. So I'll be part of the team, but we are looking to hire a boxing coach to be involved and be a part of it. Francis, kind of the way we all laid it out on Friday, Francis is like, look, I'm going to have a boxing team with specifics to strength and conditioning, to this, to that, and also coaching. But I want you and Dewey to be involved at whatever capacity you guys feel comfortable with. But I'm telling you guys, I want you guys there. We'll work out the details as far as corners and stuff goes. But I plan on trying to be in Saudi Arabia with them for the entire month of October, pending on what other things get scheduled fight-wise. But I'm excited for him. And to be honest with you guys, it lays a lot of pressure off of me when trying to go figure out this guy, Tyson Fury. But at the end of the day, man, we're family. We're all very close. I'm happy to be involved in this historic event at whatever capacity he needs me at.
Hey, Eric, I got a question real quick, just because, you've never been shy to kind of reach out to other coaches. I know a lot of you coaches talk to each other. I can't think of a better guy that has experience with mixed martial arts, has been watching it, now covering it, and boxing, Teddy Atlas. I know you guys have talked before. Have you guys maybe picked his brain as to who he thinks could be a good candidate for that job?
Absolutely. He was the first guy that we brought up on Friday. Again, like there's just a couple of things that I understand why I would be involved in the camp is because of my ability to hold pads for Francis. There's not a lot of people that can hold pads for Francis. Dewey and myself can do that. We're big bodied men, we take that wear and tear. So it'd be interesting to see what age of the coach is, what style. Like Freddie Roach is not going to be able to hold pads for Francis. I don't think Teddy Atlas is going to be able to hold pads for Francis. And I'm not saying pads is the end all be all when it comes to being a great boxing coach. I'm just saying like wear and tear on a body when it comes to a heavyweight power puncher like Francis does take its toll. So if there's a guy like Teddy Atlas that would come along, I know that Dewey and I would probably be doing still a lot of the physical work, whereas Teddy would probably be monitoring and handling all the stuff on the outside. So it'd be interesting to see what we decide to do and what route we go with the coach. But Teddy was one of the first names that was brought up.
Eric, just to clear up and make sure here, if this thing was signed about a month ago, you're saying that when Dana was bringing up Fury coming to the UFC and fighting Jones, you already had the giggles going on because that just wasn't going to happen? Or did you feel like it was an actual threat and maybe the other deal could either fall apart? Or can you clarify that, please?
No, I mean, I knew we were in talks. The deal was not done. I knew we were in talks and we were close to getting that signed. But, I'm just talking from my perspective. This is not factual or what I felt when hearing Dana speak about it a little bit. I was like, oh shit, maybe there is something going on with Francis and Fury, because there's no other reason why Dana's now bringing this up, in my opinion. I just felt like it was kind of like, okay, I think there is a little bit of traction here.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about the MMA move back after in 2024. What's the risk though, right? Like everyone looks at Conor McGregor. He got his massive payday against Floyd. Then it was like, man, I've worked my entire life to have this kind of security. Now it's time to enjoy it. Francis has had a very trying, ordeal to get here, been through a lot in his life. What are you going to think about like his motivation after this, no matter how it goes against Tyson Fury? Do you think it might be a bit of a challenge to get him to recalibrate back to MMA?
I mean, it could be, and I think we'll have to cross that bridge once we get there. But the one thing that I do appreciate about Francis is the fact that like his motivation has never been about dollars. It's been more about the freedom and being able to do things the right way. So, it is interesting to think, I mean, this guy's going to have money that he's never going to have to do anything for the rest of his life if he doesn't want to, but he is a competitor. The one thing that really stands out to me is like intimate conversations that I've had with him. about his development in MMA and how much he's enjoying the actual art of MMA and the wrestling and the grappling and everything else that he's kind of fallen in love with over the years. So those things to me give me hope in knowing that once, he fights Tyson Fury, he has that money in the bank, he's secure. I think there's a lot of unfinished business for him that he feels in when it comes to the MMA side of things. I remember him taking somebody down in the gym, had a whole round of just ground and pound, beating up the guy, and he looks over and he's like, man, I love this. And that to me is, a good indicator that he does definitely want to come back and compete. And, I think he has a lot of unfinished business when it comes to the MMA side of things, to be honest with you.
And just one more, sorry, if I could go again, as far as like the training, obviously there's not a ton of time here. I know Francis has been like, his first love was boxing. I think he has a lot of appreciation and respect for the technique in the game, probably on a different level than Connor did with Floyd. But in terms of like adjusting the skill set, what he brings in there, like, I know you're not going to be his primary boxing coach for this, but like your opinion, how much focus should go on to trying to nail the boxing fundamentals, or how much reliance can be like, hey, maybe we have something a little more awkward here that Tyson hasn't seen that we could use to our advantage and try to build and bank on that for success in the fight?
Mike, that's my point too. In talking to the team, I think if this is just my thoughts, I feel like if you go and try to outbox Tyson Fury, I think we're in for a long night. Now, can Francis touch you on the chin and knock somebody out? Yes, absolutely he can. But I think if you're out there trying to out technique Tyson Fury, I think it's going to be downhill for Tyson Fury. I think he's really going to be able to, utilize his jab. So my thoughts on the situation are we're going to have to try to come up with things that are innovative, things that maybe traditional boxers aren't accustomed to seeing. And, do things that I think like are maybe a little erratic and not as clean as what typical boxers will do. And by saying that, I think when you watch the way Wilder was able to catch Tyson Fury, and Wilder's been known as not really a fundamental style of boxer, but he was able to sit Tyson Fury down. Those punches come from weird angles. They come from, a herky-jerky, erratic motion. Jay Hirano has called guys like that in the gym boogers, and it's more of a term of endearment because they're so difficult to deal with. So I think we have to kind of stay in that element that you're speaking about, Mike. I don't think we can just try to outbox this man. I think we have to have that somewhat of, different style, different attack, different style approach. Some of the things that we're working on within MMA, even with the stance switches, doing things from different positions and stepping over to different things that maybe certain boxers haven't seen in the boxing ring. So I definitely think we're going to have to come up with a different approach rather than just outbox this man.